All right, I saw this article on CBN. Listen to this. Put in jail if you speak about Jesus. Preacher battles back in Bible verse case. It says a constitutional attorney is sounding the alarm about a case he says could have sweeping religious liberty ramifications. That's a good reading right there. Normally I stumble over like at least 2 words. I'm on today. It says John W. Whitehead, president of Rutherford. Oh, there it happened right there. I jinxed myself. President of Rutherford Institute, a nonprofit, says that his client, Rich, was slapped with a 5-year restraining order that prevents him from protesting online. So you can't post anything online in protest to an LGBT organization in Oklahoma. I don't think I've ever seen an online restraining order placed. It says, as CBN News previously reported, the situation unfolded after the preacher posted his moral and religious concerns online, expressing his beliefs about a church that supported same-sex marriage and drag queen performance in front of kids. So he's voicing his concerns about a church. And he got slapped with a restraining order. What did he do, though? It says he posted Romans 1:32. And it says, though they know God's righteous decree that those who practice such things deserve to die, they not only do them, but give approval to those who practice them. And I guess he also posted Matthew 18:6, which says, but whoever causes one of these little ones who believe in me to sin, it would be better for him to have a great millstone fastened around his neck and be drowned in the depth of the sea. Okay, let's watch the video because that's insane.
Thanks for coming on today with me. We're going to be talking about this case. You are representing an Oklahoma street preacher. His name is Rich Pinkowski. And this is a really interesting case. He is claiming he was given a 5-year restraining order. Before we get into what he was allegedly guilty of that led to this restraining order, what are the penalties for the order?
Oh, it's a 5-year restraining order for citing basically 2 Bible verses. That's it. And he can get he can be put in jail, fined, and taken away if he says anything in terms of Bible verses or anything dealing with these LGBT people that felt threatened by one of the Bible verses is let me check here, Matthew 18:6. Jesus speaking, saying that you can go to hell basically if you drag kids into an environment where they are led into sin and stuff. And he never approached anybody physically or contacted them directly. He just posted on social media. And the key here is that's where people are speaking today. That's where all churches are speaking on social media. So if they can tell you that because someone felt threatened, the LGBT people, the gay people, that over these Bible verses, if that's it, then if you go out on the corner and just talk to people generally about the Bible, you can get arrested now if that's true. This is why this is a very important case. When he contacted me and I looked at the facts, I said, whoa, in America, by quoting Jesus Christ, you can get a 5-year restraining order and put in jail if you speak about Jesus Christ. What he said.
So let me ask you. So he, Rich goes around and he protests, right? He goes out and speaks about churches, the Drag Queen Story Hour events, churches that are sort of doing those things, events where those are being hosted. This particular case that we're talking about here, there was a same-sex wedding. There was a photo of these 2 women that was allegedly shared on social media. These verses were shared.
Shared on social media, yeah.
Yeah, and so how common is that? I mean, you've dealt with a lot of these cases where somebody has posted not necessarily, not a direct threat, they've posted Bible verses, right? And they've had this kind of a reaction from a judge. How common is that?
This is very rare. I have not seen it. This is the first time I've actually seen somebody quoting Jesus Christ and that being considered a crime. Exactly. And that's what it is. And I've been warning people about
That's crazy. This is the first time he has seen somebody quoting Jesus Christ and it be considered a crime. This was just a post. This is just text. Imagine all the people who are making videos who are talking about things. I'm thinking about if something so he already got a 5-year restraining order. So they already took legal action against him and the judge approved it. This could open up the door. And I don't want to be, Mr. Over the top, Mr. Over dramatic, but this could potentially open up the door for a lot of cases where people who just don't like Christians, don't like Jesus, really start to ramp up, especially here in America. I didn't think this was even in America. I thought this was like in the UK or in Canada, somewhere wacky like that, where this stuff happens. Not to say that, the US is not wacky. The US is definitely wacky. But in terms of this type of persecution, it's very interesting. And I've been saying this for a minute now. You look at other countries, you look at, like other countries like in the Middle East, for example, you see the amount of persecution that Christians are enduring. And we could never imagine the level of persecution that those Christians are going through because they're literally being killed for what they believe in. And I've said this before, I think our persecution in America is going to look different. They can't just outright just kill us for being Christians, but they can suppress us on social media. They can suppress our ideas. They can debank us. They can, cancel us. They can do all these things. And if they're putting restraining orders on people because of quoting scripture, that opens up a whole new possibility. This is wild.
This for years, I've seen just general free speech being attacked across the country on social media. You can't say this word, you can't say that word. They take you off of social media. Now the Biden administration actually has issued an order where they're talking, if you give disinformation on the social media, you can be considered a terrorist. Now the question is, are we going to give in to this or are we going to fight it? At the Rutherford Institute, I fight for free speech across the board, no matter who you are. And that's the point. I may not agree with your beliefs or whatever, but I agree with the fact that you have a right to say those beliefs. And this guy did not threaten anybody. He did not walk up to him. He did not meet him. He did not point a finger. He just posted something on social media. And quoting Jesus Christ on social media, if that's a crime, then folks, what's going to happen to ministers across the country if you say the wrong thing? If you say, well, I don't like this group, and here's what Jesus might have said about that, you can actually get a restraining order issued against you if this holds. We're appealing this case, and we're going to try to set this straight, that this man has the right to free speech and the freedom of religion. If not, toss it out, folks. They're going to cancel Christianity if they want to.
The judge in this case, and then I want to kind of go through the events, but the judge in this case, it seemed that the judge was saying, okay, well, you have the right to free speech, but you don't have the right to single out two individuals. That was the argument. I don't know if you want to respond to that, because I thought that was, if they're not being singled out with a threat, that's an interesting take. Is it not?
Well, that's the whole point of free speech. It's the right to stand out in front of a congressman's office. And when he comes out and say, Congressman, whoever, or President Biden or whatever, we disagree with you and point your finger. That's the whole point of the people who gave us the First Amendment believed in that our rights came from God and that we had the right to speak. God gave us the right to speak out, to protest, to do all those things. They're in case.
He's spitting right now. He said the people who gave us our rights got our rights from God. He's spitting right now.
In our First Amendment, folks. And when I talk to people today, many people don't even know what's in the First Amendment. I'm telling people across the board, study the First Amendment. That's the key to our freedom, the right to speak up, to challenge people. And by trying to take us off of social media now is the worst threat, because that's where people congregate now, on social media. And then more and more, and so they're going to do that. So this is a case that, if you can't post a criticism of social media and quote Jesus Christ out of Matthew, then where are we at? What are we going into a deep hole somewhere? It doesn't make any sense. So that's why when I saw the case and he came to me for help, I said, hey, wait a second. And I've helped many street preachers across America. Listen, Jesus Christ was a street preacher generally. He got into trouble. because he was willing to stand up and speak truth to power. And this is what we need, people like this. And we need to make sure they can do it. Again, he wasn't threatening anybody particular. He was just citing Bible verses. And if we can't do that, freedom is lost in America.
You know, some of the events that led up to this, you know, he protested, and correct me if I'm wrong, a church and an LGBTQ organization. And these two women, there was a photo that I have read it was a public photo that was shared, that he shared along with these verses. What was the purpose of the protesting, and how did this get in front of police? Because that's the question people have. Well, how did it go from social media posts, and again, correct any part of that you feel is incorrect, to the police being involved in this?
Oh, the people that felt threatened by the Bible verses, to turn him into the police and objected at that point. They were threatened. They were afraid. And again.
But what do you say, though? You call the cops and you say, hey, Jerry just posted a Bible verse. Come get this dude. And the cops say, I bet we coming. How does that work? So now he can't post anything related to him not agreeing with, in this case, same-sex marriage. He can't post anything related to that with scripture attached to it. And he also can't speak about it in public, or else he's in violation of his restraining order. That's wild.
I say more and more people are afraid of free speech today, by the way. Kids are being taught in school they can't say the word God. They can't study the Declaration of Independence because the Declaration of Independence says if you don't like the government, we can remove it. They don't want any of that today. And that's why it's so darn important. But yeah, they objected. Listen, you can get turned into anybody today. They have welfare checks across America. If someone hears you talking on your front porch, they can go, oh, I think that guy's crazy. Police are showing up and arresting people. So we're at a real key point in this country where if we don't start protecting our rights, we're going to lose them. And we don't have much time, folks, because, like I say, the generation I see coming out of schools today don't have any clue about what their rights are.
Well, there was recently a survey. I don't have the numbers in front of me, but they were asking, you've probably seen this, they were asking people, young people, what they knew about the First Amendment, and Americans more broadly, what do you know? And of course, a lot of them knew that it protects free speech, but when it came to religious freedom, religious liberty, very few people, I think it was less than half of the population surveyed, were able to identify the First Amendment protected religious freedom. That is alarming. That is a very alarming statistic, and it's something that clearly we have a lot of work to do to make sure people understand, regardless of what happens in this case, the broader issue here at play. Now, you spoke to this before, but I want to give you a chance just before we go here to really hammer this home. If this stands, if this order stands and he is restricted, what are the long-term ramifications in your view for other cases and for speech more broadly?
Well, freedom of religion, number one, you're going to see some ministers. If this case stands, ministers are going to be targeted for speaking out about things they see in society and they consider sinful. Broadly, free speech is waning today. It's going away, folks. I see it more and more with political correctness movement and stuff like that. And the key is here, like I said, the people who wrote our First Amendment, who fought for it, wanted us to have values. They believed in Judeo-Christian values. And that's where our free speech comes from. God gave us the right to speak. They call the rights inalienable rights. And I ask people, what does that mean? Most of them look at me and go, I don't know. It means they can't be taken away. They're always there. Express yourself. And that's how you keep things free, folks. And we want people to think critically. This is too. People are not always correct in what they believe. So that I should be challenged. You should be challenged. So we'll wake up, and that's how you get politicians to listen, is get out there and speak. Some of the greatest men of history were people who got out there on the streets and said, I object. And I'm willing to go to jail for it. And this guy here, Rich Penkowski, is willing to do that. And I think it's really important in this case here. Like I said, religious freedom and speech generally could be lost in a case like this.
So last question, what happens next legally? You're appealing it. So what are the next steps there?
Well, we're waiting for the Oklahoma Supreme Court. We appealed to the Oklahoma Supreme Court to see what they will do in this particular case. If they decide they don't want to back us up, it'll be appealed further up. We'll see how far it goes, folks. But we're willing to fight all the way at the Rutherford Institute.
Well, I appreciate your time.
People are so soft. I was just thinking about this as I was eating breakfast this morning. People are so soft. Just because I don't agree with you does not mean that I hate you. We don't have to agree on everything. We don't have to agree on everything. It doesn't mean I hate you. It doesn't mean I want harm towards you or done to you. It just means I don't agree with you. And from a Christian perspective, the reason why, from a Christian perspective, if I don't agree with you, I will clearly show you in the Bible why I do not agree with you, because the Bible is the only solid foundation of truth that we have in this society. Everything else is fleeting. Everything else is based on a lie. Everything else is based on a lie. So I'm going to show you in the Bible why I disagree with you, and it's not a threat. And we have these kids that are being raised nowadays, and these kids are so soft as well. They're being raised to think that if somebody disagrees with them on anything, that means that they dislike them. This is crazy. I'll be super interested to see what happens with this case, because like he's saying, the ramifications that it could potentially have, even, for people like me, for people who talk about the gospel, speak out against certain things, or really just anybody who's a Christian who posts even Bible verses on your Instagram, on Twitter, on whatever, you could potentially face legal charges because you believe in Jesus. What a time we live in right now. Absolutely insane. Let me know what you think in the comments. Like this video, subscribe if you have not already. I'm out.